in for the whole grading and the wall replacement and everything, it was 250,000 with some variables. One thing we want to, Sue's going to get us clarification on is the quote on rebuilding the wall of what they quoted on rebuilding, whether it's Keystone block, Ready Rock, cement, we don't know. The committee right now, just to get things moving forward, wanted to suggest to the council that we get move forward with the grading of McDonald Street and Summer Street at the stop sign, roughly 200 feet on McDonald Street, to get the water, regardless of when we do the repair to the field, but to get the water going back where it should. Some of it needs to go back down Summer Street into those catch basins, and some of it needs to go to the basins on the other side of McDonald Street into the ditch. So that was the recommendation of the committee, is for the council to at least get going in that direction on the grading part. And the field issue we could look at with possible with grant money later on what we want to do there and how we want to rebuild it. Councilor Eastman also brought up the fact that if we have to do a guardrail or something, if it's mandated, DOT, we don't really know that yet regarding the slope from McDonald Street to the field. Do an evaluation of parking with the parking lot we have and how many cars normally fit up on that left field, center field road along McDonald Street, and where other options we have on parking for there. And that was about it for tonight.
Any questions?
I wanted to note, Councilor Rankin, that after the committee meeting ended, I emailed the engineer, and she indicated that the quote included segmented wall, which is what's there now. And I mentioned that the committee was also wanted information on a concrete option and what that would be, and so she's going to prepare an estimate for that as well. She had some concerns about the size of the wall and what it would need to be to prevent cracking, but said that would, that they could factor that in, and that but I just wanted to let you know that I did reach out to her right after the meeting to find out what was quoted, and what was quoted is a similar type wall as is there right now.
Okay. Mayor Stewart, I also I mentioned in the committee that Monty Coombs had reached out with me because he has a lot of experience with cement work, and he had an idea that may save the town some money in his mind. I don't know whether it would or not. It sounds like a very sound structure that he's talking about. I'm going to send it to all the baseball committee. He did a couple of drawings for me. And if the council would like me to send everyone on the council a copy of those, I will do that as well.
Yeah, why don't you send that off to everybody? One question I have on the redoing of McDonald Street, Sue, I don't know if Jay's here or you could. That's something that probably wouldn't be able to get done until next spring anyway, correct?
That depending on where the weather goes in the next few weeks, it potentially could be done this year, but it may not be done until spring. A lot of it may be weather dependent.
Sure.
I don't know the answer to that yet because I don't have, specifically when we're doing grading and stuff, that if we're doing something in the paved area, it's going to require repaving, and the paving plant's closed mid-November.
Right. Yep.
So that would be an issue if depending on what we did. But I'll talk to Jay about it on Monday and see what he thinks we can get done this fall that may at least address part of it, even if we kept some of it from over the winter during the heavier precipitation, because that's when it failed last year, is after the winter. So.
Yeah, my concern being we only have one meeting in December, and if it's something that we want to discuss, if we could get some information sooner than later, and then we could bring it up in that first meeting in December, hopefully to get something, if the council determined they wanted to pass and do that. It would be a short window, obviously, but at least it will give us an idea of what we're looking at.
Okay, I'll have it for you by then.
Is everybody okay with doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that, Ed, or is that good?
No, that summed it up.
Okay. Next item is cemetery committee update, Kathy.
Well, we had a meeting on Tuesday, and there's not much that we have been able to accomplish because we haven't been able to get in touch with the folks at 917 River Road. They're the new owners, and the only address that we had at the time was Kansas that Sue had written a letter to. We have not heard back. Sue has contacted the attorney, and the attorney asked that she write another letter before we address it any further. So, Sue, I don't know if you want to take it over and see what you have done at this point.
I had sent out the initial letter requesting permission to go on the property to do an evaluation of with ground penetrating radar to determine the location of where the cemetery was. And I sent it to both 917 River Road and to the address in Kansas in the event that they were here instead of there. And neither letter has come back. But I also haven't heard anything. I contacted the attorney to find out sort of what our authorities are in this regard, and what he indicated is we need landowner permission to go on the property. If landowner permission isn't given willingly, we have to go to court to get permission to go on to do what the law requires us to do, which is maintain an ancient burial ground. But he asked me to write a second letter explaining the evidence that we had that this indeed was an ancient burial ground and that there were Revolutionary War soldiers buried there, etc. To try and avoid any kind of civil, there's nothing happening in the courts in a civil way probably until 2022. And so, and truthfully, we certainly don't want to end up in a court thing. This was something that was discussed prior to this sale. I'm hoping that this is just a case of things crossing in the mail and that I will hear from them on this second letter that we're sending out. And then, but he did indicate that if that wasn't successful, that then our law firm would send a letter that sort of articulated because the way the law is written, if we're forced to go to court or forced to use legal services to gain access, then those costs are attributable to the property owner. So I want to avoid all of that if at all possible, but that's kind of where we are right now. We're waiting.
Any questions? Again, I want to remind folks that are watching on TV or that you can call in or send an email to Sue Lassard if you have questions on anything we're talking about tonight. The next item is request to prepare RFP for solar array at the former landfill. Solar committee. Who's the solar committee? Mark?
Yep. Yeah, this came out of the last meeting. They wanted to move forward with the landfill project and pursue an RFP to see what might be possible.
Okay. Yep. Any questions on that?
Is it the consensus of the council to do that, or could we have a motion to do that? Generally speaking, we don't do a resolve until we get RFP
numbers,
but we do give permission to send it out.
A motion to send out an RFP for the solar array at the landfill site.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Jacob, you online, are you?
I think so.
You want to try to go around the room for me?
Certainly. Mark Eastman,
Approve.
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Great, thanks. Item D is the town dock project update. I assume that's Richard?
Yes, Mayor Stewart and Council, I do have Mr. Dan Bannon. He's our engineer from GEI Consultants. He's on here. He's going to give you a brief overview of what his company's been able to do for us at this point. Go ahead,
Great.
Dan.
All right, thank you, Rich. So I'm hoping that I'm able to share my screen. I have a brief slideshow presentation that I'll go through. I have not used Google Meet before, so hopefully this works, but I'm going to try it now. Just a second.
You got it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Hold on just a second. Just want to make sure you're seeing this correctly. I'll just go like this. Okay, well, thanks, Rich, again. Just to introduce myself, my name's Dan Bannon. I'm a project manager and waterfront engineer with GEI Consultants in Portland. We're the consulting engineers for the Town Dock project. And I just have a brief presentation to go through tonight to get you up to speed on the work that we've done so far on this project. Just to outline what I'll present, I'll go through the background of the project and the objectives of this work, progress we've made to date. I'll review the preliminary design that's been developed, share the estimated cost and some of the funding options that we've been discussing, and next steps where we go from here. So here, just to give you an overview, it shows the area of the town dock. This large photo here is from a drone photo that we took earlier this year. Unfortunately, the floats were not in at the time of the photo, but you can see the town dock area here. Here's Main Street. All the floats are sitting here on the ground. You can see the mooring pile dolphins that would hold the floats in place when they're in seasonally. Here in the bottom corner, there's another view of the town dock looking from the east, looking upriver. You can see there's a small fixed pier and a float system with about 315 feet of timber floats along the river. You can see here in the bottom right, this is a photo from, I believe, 2018, when the American Constitution was in, and the use by small cruise ships has been increasing in recent years, which is one of the reasons for this project, really to better accommodate the cruise ships, but also to better accommodate a greater volume of recreational vessels. So in 2019, the town applied for a grant from Maine Coastal Program, a shore and harbor planning grant, to help pay for the engineering for this project, and GEI Consultants was hired through that. So just to review what the objectives are of this project, first off, to increase the capacity of the town dock, both, again, to better serve the small cruise ships and greater capacity for recreational boats, to improve the safety, stability, and performance of the existing floating docks, to provide ADA compliant access down to vessels, including, again, the recreational vessels and the cruise ships, to design for a year-round installation. So right now the floats and gangway have to be removed seasonally. So one of the goals is to allow this to be in place year-round, so that there will be dockage year-round, to upgrade the mooring systems, to accommodate large vessels that will use the facility, and loading associated with being in place year-round. To add security that meets the Coast Guard requirements so that foreign flag vessels can dock here, and also to upgrade the utilities, including power pedestals for transient boats and water. So what we've done so far, GEI started the project in, I believe, May or June of this year, middle of this year. We've completed a site survey, a facility inspection, established the basis of design for the proposed improvements. We developed 5 conceptual designs that we reviewed with Rich Rotella and Mike Ormsby, and through that we're able to come up with some refinements and identify a preferred design, which I'll present tonight. And then we've further prepared preliminary design for that selected alternative. So again, I'll show you first the existing conditions at the site, and then from there we'll go to the proposed improvements. So right now there's about 315 feet long of timber floats along the main face, 10-foot wide, typical floats. Those floats are accessed from a 4-foot wide by 35-foot long gangway. Very short gangway, so it gets very steep at low tide and is not ADA compliant. There's a fixed timber pier that was rebuilt just recently in 2018, and a filled causeway area here with some upland parking and restroom facilities. So large vessels like the American Cruise Lines vessels will use this main float face, and the smaller vessels will dock sometimes on the back and on some of these finger floats. And in the proposed design, we're proposing an expansion of the facility that would replace all of the existing timber floats with concrete floats, heavy concrete floating docks that are, each unit is about 13 feet wide by 60 feet long. The total dock length would be increased along the main face from the current 315 feet to about 400 feet long, significantly increasing the capacity of dockage along that main face. We've added a number of finger floats along the backside to provide additional slips for transient vessels. We have actually shifted the dock out further into the river by about 12 feet total, which gets you into a little bit deeper water so that those, especially so those back slips, are more usable. We are reusing the existing timber pier that was recently rebuilt. That's in good condition, but we are making some upgrades to it, adding some fencing and security to address Coast Guard requirements, adding an aluminum gangway that would be ADA compliant. So this is a 120-foot long gangway, very long gangway compared to what's there today, but that's what's required in order to be ADA compliant for a facility that serves cruise ships. In this configuration, there's capacity for about 21 vessels using both the main float face and the slips on the backside of the dock system. And then finally, the existing pile dolphins would be replaced by large diameter steel pipe piles that would be driven into the existing riverbed and socketed to ledge at the base. I'll show another view here. Now this is just the same plan, but we've switched out the boat configuration, now showing the American Constitution. So this is one of the small cruise ships that has recently been docking at the Bucksport Town Dock, and we're anticipating that to happen more so in the future. So these upgrades would allow that to happen more easily. The Constitution is a 267-foot long vessel, so with the current dock, it does take up most of the main face of the dock. With this expanded condition, as you can see, even with the Constitution at the dock, there's still space for several additional recreational vessels, as well as with the slips on the backside, many additional berths. The use of the concrete floats will really provide a much more stable platform, much better berthing conditions for boats like the Constitution and the Independence, another that occasionally comes to Bucksport. And these floats will also be designed to include steel mooring bollards on the floats so that the boat can tie up directly to the float as opposed to having to have lines cross the floats to the mooring piles as is currently done. So really significantly improving usability by recreational users and the cruise ship passengers. I wanted to show a couple of photos just for examples of similar components to what's being proposed here. So this one is from a project that we designed that was just built earlier this year, actually. This is in Provincetown, Mass. But these were similarly sized, so the 13-foot wide by about 60-foot long concrete floats. And so the individual units are very large, and they actually they get fastened together to create really one large solid platform. Again, just providing a really significant increase to the performance from the timber docks that are out there today. This similarly used steel pipe piles to restrain the floats in place. In the proposed design here, we're not suggesting to locate the piles in the middle of the floats. They would actually be outside to maintain the clear width of the float for users. But similar in general components would be proposed here. Another just example I wanted to show is this is from another project that I've worked on actually in here in Maine in Cumberland. This is a aluminum ADA compliant gangway system. In this case, this is actually only 80 feet long, which is the requirement for a recreational marina. When you get into cruise ships, that's when you have to go to the longer length. So 120 feet is what's proposed here for the Bucksport Town Dock. But just wanted to show this as an example because it gives you a sense of the magnitude of these long gangways and how that can really provide a much more gradual slope than the short gangway that's out there today, which again meets ADA requirements, but also is just really nice for general users because it's so much easier to climb. In addition, the proposed design includes, similar to what's shown here, pile configurations with lifting beams to allow you to lift the gangway out seasonally or during heavy storms, I guess not seasonally. So those are really the general components of the proposed design. I won't get into a lot of detail right now, but would be happy to answer more detailed questions if there are any after we get through this. Along with the preliminary design, we've also prepared a cost estimate for the work. It is a fairly significant project, also one that will have significant opportunity for the town by the increased capacity it will bring and increased ability to serve cruise ships and recreational vessels. But the current cost estimate based on the preliminary design is $3.27 million for the full construction. So again, it's a pretty significant project, but there are many possible funding opportunities to help support this work. And we've begun some conversations about these. There's been no formal pursuit of any of these grants, but there are many grants that can be used to apply to a project like this. One example is the Boating Infrastructure Grant that's through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. which can provide up to $1.5 million per application, and it's a 75% federal, 25% local match. There's also the Maine DOT Small Harbor Improvement Program, which can provide up to $250,000 per application with a 50-50 match. Northern Borders Regional Commission, which is up to $350,000 with a 50-50 match. I know there's grants through the EDA, and we've also had some conversations related to the potential funding availability related to the Holtrachem investments in the Penobscot River. So all of these are very early conversations, but you can start to see how there could be a funding package put together if you explore several of these that could really help to make a project of this magnitude happen without a significant investment from the town. So in terms of our next steps, we've prepared our preliminary design. We're prepared to move into the next phase, which will be filing applications for state and federal permits. This work will require permits from Maine DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. So during this fall into winter, we plan to prepare those applications and submit them, which would put us on track to receive permits in spring 2021. During summer 2021, we would prepare the final design for the project, and throughout the next year or possibly further into the future, would be working with the town to explore funding possibilities, potentially apply for grants or other means of funding. Right now, we would be on track for the earliest potential construction being winter 2021 into 2022. But that's really all contingent on whether there's funding available. So we would kind of have a shovel-ready project going into that time. But some of these grants, the BIG grant, for example, I know the applications won't be open again until next fall. So that funding would really not even be until 2022 or later. But that's the timeline that we're on. And that's really all I had. I wanted to keep the presentation kind of brief for tonight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or go back to any slides.
Does anybody have any questions?
What would the longevity of these cement floats be?
So the concrete floats, I believe that, well, I'd have to confirm that. I believe that they're typically designed as a 50-year lifespan, but I can confirm that for you.
That is what our harbor master and marina manager had indicated when prior to starting this, was that those floats were a 50-year lifespan.
You had also said that it would no longer be a seasonal pull for the dock system, so they stay right in during straight through the winter. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I just wanted to show these pictures again, and this is just an example. These wouldn't be exactly what you'd end up with, but these are fairly massive floats, and we're also installing some pretty large diameter piles at the ends to accommodate the ice loading that's predicted to occur on the Penobscot River. So yes, it would stay in place year-round.
Anybody else have any questions? Just two quick ones. One, Sue, for funding, this would obviously have to go to referendum. Would it be a June referendum where we're looking at, or would we wait until November?
It would likely be a November referendum for something of this size. the town, generally speaking, has geared its major funding. The only one that I know that didn't was the sewer treatment, and that was the most unpopular vote that I think we've ever had.
Sure.
But so I think that likely it would be in November. But
Would-
the vote would take place, I would assume, when we knew what kind of funding package.
Well, that was my next question. Would we be able to know up front of what we would be asking for from the town? Or
I'm
somewhere
not
close?
sure how we would otherwise. I mean, if you went and said this is a $3 million project, I would think we would need to know before that was voted on what the actual amount the town was being asked to front.
Which leads me to the next question. If this other grant isn't available until the fall, would we have enough time to put those together, or would we have to put the referendum off even further? Because it doesn't sound like that the big grant is going to be available to even be applied for until the fall of 21. Is that the way I understand it, Dan? Is that?
That's correct. Yeah, I believe in September those applications are due. So it would be, yeah, somewhere in that time frame.
And what you could do is we could prepare a referendum question upon application that authorizes the town to expend up to, excuse me, whatever the difference is, and just not exceed it. If it doesn't get it, then it has to go back and, we have
Sure.
to get more.
The other question that will probably pop up, and I ask just because I'm wondering, when we're talking security and Coast Guard requirements, that's only for foreign flagged vessels. And I guess my question is, and it's probably a deeper discussion, we'll have to have some afternoon, some evening with the council, but are we looking to turning ourselves into a cruise port that are going to accept ships from all over the world? Or are we comfortable with just the American Cruise Line type stuff? And I throw that out as a question, that I think that the discussion needs to be had at some point on what we're going to be comfortable with, what we're going to be, what we want to accept. Just to be wary of those things that are out there, that when we accept cruise ships from, and we make this available for foreign flagged ships, it could turn into something that we're not quite ready for, or we are ready for. I think it's something we need to make sure we have that discussion on. Anything else?
Sorry I was a little late for your meeting. If there's any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
We left it in the capable hands, Mike, of the guy that was going to give us a good presentation. So,
Well, thanks a lot. I'll just say this. I'm really excited about this project, and I really think this is going to put us on the map. And we could take baby steps once we get it. I mean, we don't have to start with cruise ships from, out of country. And we can just work with the ones that are in country for now and take steps at a time. But the dock is really for transients also, and it really is going to be a nice facility for them.
would this I guess I'll ask, would this replace the thought of having to add on the extra fingers on the box that we were thinking about doing?
It would for a little bit. We still would like to do a little bit over there too for more seasonals. But the main dock would be for pretty much strictly for transients, not seasonals. So that's what that would be for. It's quite a facility if we can get it. So
Sure. It's a great presentation. I think it will warrant some good discussion. And hopefully we can find some money to help us out with it.
Yep.
Is there electric and water and all that kind of that dock system as well?
On this, yes. This will have electric hookups and water.
And do these ships, Mike? I don't know. Do they handle their own discharge or?
Yes, they may use water, but generally they run their own. The electric hookups won't be big enough to power a ship. They run their own generators.
Okay. Anything else? Dan, I appreciate your presentation. Thank you. It's a nice job. We've got some work ahead of us to find some couple dollars, though.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Mike, if you'd like, I can send this presentation, or
I was just going to say, could you send that presentation to Sue, and Sue can send it out to us?
Yep, I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
I just wanted to mention that the culture temp thing that was mentioned that relates to the settlement in regard to the mercury in the river piece that's up for discussion. And the attorneys the town has been talking to about this funding are well aware of the price and the if we were fortunate enough to get funding that our settlement piece as part of that, it could significantly reduce to a very small amount anything that the town after, grants and 50. I'm kind of swinging for the fence here, but I think if that facility is very much line with what we're thinking about for some of the river improvements as offset to what had happened over time. So I think that if that avenue moves forward, that we would be in a very good position to take advantage of a significant amount of funding. Mike, would you agree? I know that, and Rich, we've all been part of this discussion, but I think that they certainly have expressed a great deal of interest in this project. So,
my feeling is this project fits their bill of what they would been kind of requested to do for the Penobscot River area, and of course we're at the head of the river, and Bucksport surely was affected by what had happened. So I really think it would be a good project for them and us.
Great. You have something, Richard?
Yeah, we're in contact with their attorneys, Freddie Flaherty, and they're very interested, and they've been keeping contact with Dan as well. Dan not only handled the engineering part, but he's also kept lines of communication open with them as well, and they are very interested in this project.
Very good.
Yeah, and Rich, I was just going to add, so when we had earlier discussions with them, we weren't yet at the point of having a preliminary design or an idea of what the cost was. And now that we have that, we can really engage with them further. The other thing that I think is important to keep in mind is that some of the grants, like the BIG, for example, that's a 75% federal share, 25% non-federal share. So that doesn't necessarily mean the 25% needs to come from the town. So again, when you start to look at that full package of funding, you can really get pretty far and minimize what the town actually has to cover.
Great. Get a sharp pencil, please. All right. Thank you, guys. Next item is the Holiday Lights Parade. Rich?
Hi. So I'm here at the Public Safety Building. Chris Brindle's here with me, and Public Safety Director Gagan. We met earlier today to finalize what we'd like to see for plans for this year's Holiday Lights Parade. We are proposing a date of Monday, December 7th. We're proposing the time for the floats to arrive at 6 o'clock and the parade itself to begin at 6:30. This will be a reverse parade, meaning that the floats will be stationary and the folks will drive by in their vehicles. They will head south down 15, and there'll be one-way traffic. The floats will be lined up starting roughly at Mechanic Street and going down to about Napa. Typically, when we hold the parade and we do judging, it's double file from Hugans Park down to Napa, doing it this way, depending on the number of floats that we have. If we need to do both sides of the road, we can do that and still keep the road open for one-way traffic. Traffic heading north, coming from Orland or Route 46 that would like to see the parade or trying to get back to the Bangor area, will be able to come down, head up Mill Street, go down Franklin, and if they're going to come to the parade, they're going to head down Mechanic Street and join on. If they're a tractor trailer truck and they want to leave, they can just continue right out Franklin Street, head up 15, and head up that way to Bangor. All parties are in agreement. We believe this is the safest way with the pandemic to make this happen and spread a little holiday cheer in the town of Bucksport.
Do you have a time limit on how long this stays? I mean, so do you have like a cruiser leading the folks through to look at the floats, and then a cruiser sort of ending the parade?
No, so the parade itself will go from 6:30 to 7:30. The goal is to have the road open back to two-way traffic by 7:45 o'clock at the extreme latest. There will be a cruiser or something stationed at the corner of Mechanic to ensure one-way traffic, and then another one at Mill Street to, again, ensure the one-way traffic that way. The goal is to have the big DOT signs, the ones that we're currently using for COVID messages, slowdown messages on the interstate, to have those here to help guide people through, to let them understand that there is a parade in progress.
And are you going to allow pedestrian traffic also?
The floats are going to be told that the floats, folks, if they're making an entrance, it has to be floats. We're not having people walking around with their floats like the traditional parade would do. We cannot stop people from walking on Main Street or any of the side streets to come to the parade, but we're going to strongly encourage that anyone who is out and about to have a mask on, and to please come by vehicle. But we can't stop someone who's going to walk on streets.
No, I understand that. I just was wondering, will they be able to walk down the sidewalk on the south side to be able to look at them while the cars are on the driving lane?
They'll be able to see it.
Yep. Paul, do you have something?
Sir.
Everybody okay with that? We want to take a motion to go ahead with that?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Anybody got anything else? All those in favor? I'll make it easy on you, Jake. How's that? All right. Good luck, fellas.
Yeah, thank you very much.
7F, employee holiday event, town manager, Sue.
Thank you. It isn't an event. I sent you a memo earlier today discussing my desire to do something special for the employees this year in this difficult time, and we can't have our annual employee luncheon. That's not possible due to the COVID restrictions. And well, I don't want to discuss details because if it were to happen, I would like it to have some surprise component to it. But I guess that what I'm asking for is to use $6,500. We have $1,500 that we always budget for that, but I would like an additional $6,500 from contingency for employee recognition this holiday season. And as I said on my, I recognize this is an unusual request, and I will tell you it's an unusual year. Our employees have to a person done an exceptional job in a very difficult environment in maintaining excellent public services, and in recognition of the impact of this on things this year, I relinquished my professional development money and took no raise. And the amount of that combined is more than what I'm asking for my employees. My team is very important to me. It's very important to the town, and I am. Well, I understand it's a big ask. I'm in hopes that we don't have a pandemic next holiday season, that we're sitting here again, but we are right now, and we have been for almost 9 months, 8 months. So that's my request, is whether or not I can utilize $6,500 from contingency for employee recognition this holiday season.
Did everybody have a chance to see Sue's memo? Any comments, questions? Everybody okay with it?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
I can't tell you how much I appreciate your confidence in your employees. I'm sure that they will really appreciate the level of respect you have for them. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And just to reiterate on Sue's memo, we still have some funds or stuff available for folks if they're in need, especially during this holiday season, correct?
And that is the way I'll go if that's the council's desires, to retain the stuff that we already have on hand for those who may.
Well, I was going to say, maybe we, and I don't know if we have, and I haven't seen the paper this week, but maybe for next week before Thanksgiving, maybe we put out just another plea or whatever we want to call it, that we still have some things available if folks want a hand with something.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that? We've got it, and so. All right. Item 8 is agenda items. The first is to approve Resolve 2021-27 to authorize the use of $10,000 from the Pay It Forward program funds for the Bucks program. How would the council like to proceed?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody have anything you want to talk about this? I see Brooke was on here. Did she have anything she wanted to say on this, or?
I mean, I'm here and I'm happy to answer questions if people have them. We, appreciate the support, and we're ready to relaunch the program.
I think, anybody else have anything else? I think we had good conversation the last meeting we had. I think we saw the folks with the correspondence that we received. So I think everybody's in agreement. So, Jake, you want to go around the room? Let me make you work.
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Thanks and good luck with that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. You'll be seeing more information about it soon.
Great. The next item is to approve Resolve 2021-28 to authorize the use of TIF funds to complete funding for the Museum in the Streets program. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Again, we had a good discussion on this the last meeting we had. Does anybody have any further questions? Thanks for the pictorials, Brooke. Those helped a lot, I think, too, for people to be able to see what we're looking to do. So.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Anything, Sue, from viewer land at any of these things yet?
Hold on. But no one's called and nothing in my email.
Thank you. Jake?
Mark Eastman,
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I'm gonna sign off, but it's nice to see you all.
Take care.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Item C is to approve Resolve 2021-29 to authorize the use of $5,000 in transportation funding for senior rides program for medical dental care.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Council, have anything further to talk about on this? So what kind of an impact did we have by the bus being shut down this week? Did you get many calls on that, or?
The biggest concern was that for some people, it's their only shopping opportunity. And so what we did with those people is provide information on Tozer's grocery delivery service on Fridays so that people who normally would do food shopping on Wednesday that couldn't could get delivery from Tozer's, which was our only alternative at that point.
Sure. Do we expect the bus to be back up this next week?
Yes, it was down because of an exposure.
Yeah.
But
they're good to go as far as we know now.
yes.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Jake? I'm sorry, I think there's nothing further from the council, correct? Yep. Jake?
Mark Eastman,
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
The next item is to approve Resolve 2021-30 to approve a contract with Central Maine Power for installation of LED streetlights. How would the council like to proceed?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Sue?
Yes. This proposal was introduced to us by a representative of Central Maine. As I'm sure aware, some communities are going the route of acquiring streetlights as a method of reducing cost. And this is a cost reduction without the ownership responsibilities of maintenance, etc., that would go along with ownership. The estimated annual savings is approximately $13,000 over what we're paying now, but the 15-year contract is the repayment contract for the cost of the installation of the light. But all of that is incorporated in that $13,000 a year savings. We are also currently are in a mid 15-year contract on some of the poles and things that we already have here in Bucksport. So even if we decided instead of doing this that you wanted to pursue ownership, there is a segment of what you have that you can't own yet because we're still in a 15-year contract on that. As you've heard me say more than once, more than you probably ever wanted to hear, I'm more of a fan of partnering than needing to do everything by ourselves. And I think that this affords us the opportunity to see a significant savings on our streetlights, provide better lighting through the LED lights, and not have the ownership responsibilities for maintenance and those kinds of things.
Any questions, Mark?
Yeah, so what if we wanted down the road to add lights? Do you know how that would play out with CMP with the LEDs?
The same way it does now. I mean, we add lights when we added them at Heritage Park, you know, it was that added to the list.
So they'll just install more if we say we need more?
Or if we needed more, we could add more. We would have to get them, do what we did before, just get the poles and the wires and all that kind of stuff. But then the ongoing, we turn them over basically to them after that.
Okay.
Any other questions? I know in Castine, we did the same thing. We own 12 light poles at the academy, and the town of Castine bought their light poles, but we took advantage of this program and actually just changed out the lights and took the savings without having to take ownership of the poles. And to me, I agree with you, Sue. It's at times it's nice not to have the ownership of stuff, but still get the benefits that are out there. So I think it's the right way to go. And if you haven't seen those lights in the street lights, it is a truly different light. It really does brighten up the walkways and stuff. So it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we right now have to contract to have the light at the intersection of that comes off across at the bridge and 15 Main Street, because that's our responsibility. If it doesn't work, it's a pain. We don't have facilities or personnel that can do this, and we would have to have a contract with someone for that kind of thing if we did decide to take them over, and that's just an additional expense.
Right. Yep. Jake?
Mark Eastman,
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Very good. Sue, do we have a timeline on that?
Well, they would be starting it with it would be next year. I don't think they would get it done. They would put us on their installation list, but I think it would be early 21 before they got to us.
Yep. Item E, we're going to table. Is that correct?
Item E, no. Item F, we're going to table.
Okay. Item E is to approve Resolve 2021-31 to approve the installation of heat pumps at the public safety building. Of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? We seem to be getting a pretty good deal from the Buchanan folks on some of this installation stuff, comparative prices wise. So I'm glad that they bid on some of these projects because it seems like they're doing pretty good. So, Chief, you all set with that? You got anything? All right, Jake.
Mark Eastman,
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve.
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
All right, so we are going to table item F. Is that correct, Sue?
That's correct. Our Economic and Community Development Director will have more information for a recommendation on that by our next meeting.
Item G is to approve Resolve 2021-33 to approve the ballot for the Municipal Review Committee election. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Jake?
Mark Eastman,
Approve?
Paul Bissonnette,
Approve.
Peter Stewart,
Approve?
Dan Ormsby,
Approve.
Kathy Downs,
Approve.
Ed Rankin.
Approve.
Item 9 is resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. We have the election results. Have any comments or questions on those? Thanks, Jake. Great job on your crew again for working there, and some of the counselors that I saw working the door and keeping track of making sure people were safe and having the correct numbers. So nice job for everybody. Thank you. Item 10 is approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. We don't have any. Item 11 is department heads and town manager report. Sue?
Yes. So the parking lot at the former Nason lot is now completed except for striping. If you haven't, and the seeding of the embankment, if you haven't seen it, you should take a look. They did a really good job. And while it looks like it's a great parking lot, which it is, its original design and function is to improve drainage to prevent continuing damage to the businesses along that area of Main Street that we're getting the drainage problems there. So I'm excited that that's done. I'm also happy to report that the installation of the diesel tank at the marina has been completed, and we'll now be able to offer both gas and diesel to our boating guests in 2021, which is a big deal where we will pick up a lot of customers for diesel that we were losing to, we had to go all the way to Belfast and other areas in order to get it. So we'll also be putting the downtown retaining wall project, the second year of the road project, which involves the RGP process on the Silver Lake Millvale roads where the gas pipeline was installed, and the Bucks Mills and Jacob Buck Pond Road culvert replacement project out for bid right after the beginning of the year so that we can hopefully get some good bids. And our other potential construction projects for 21 include the main floats for the marina, which we're getting prices for, as well as the fishing pier. So it's shaping up to be a really busy 21 construction season for the town. Our public safety department is working on having in-house testing capacity for COVID-19 for public safety employees. This would operate under a very strict protocols and be limited to essential employees only, but would also ensure that we could have very rapid testing response in the event of an exposure. So I'm very pleased that public safety has found a way to make this happen. Our new animal control officer is Allison Corriveau-Moore, and she can be contacted by calling dispatch at the regular number 469-7951. She has been our assistant for some time, and the plan was that she would take over the position when the former ACO retired. That changed with the most recent events, but fortunately she has experience at the facility and is already taking the ACO course for certification. As has already been noted, a big thank you to Jacob and his elections crew for the awesome job they did at the election, both leading up to and on election day. There was a huge amount of effort required, but it really went off without a hitch. And as always, thank you to the wonderful residents of Bucksport who voted, whether in person or via absentee. We had an approximate 72% of registered voters who cast their ballots in this election, which is a great rate. We received a request for information from Orland on what it might cost if they were to contract with Bucksport for fire protection instead of having their own call department as their primary fire protection source. I provided them with a ballpark-only figure based on our contract with Verona Island. However, given the fact that Orland is 4 times bigger than Verona, I am unsure that we have the ability to take on responsibility for another 92 fire calls a year without additional staffing and equipment. Depending on Orland's reaction to the original ballpark figure, this subject may be back to the council for further discussion and direction. But I just wanted you to know that they had reached out for some ballpark numbers. I provided that. If they come back and want more information, the council will need to be weighing in because it will have other ramifications. But that's it.
You know, Sue, if they reached out to anybody else or just us?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know. I just know that they reached out to us, but I don't know if they reached out to others. That the other one that would be Ellsworth. I mean, they would have capacity. You know, that's a full-time system.
Yep. Any questions? Any reports or anything? Good. Item 12 is public hearings or hold any public hearings approving licenses or permits. I don't believe we have any. 13 is discussion items not on the agenda. Anything from the public, Sue, out there?
Hold on.
Anybody on the council have anything? Danny?
Sue, I had a question about the trains on Route 15. Has anything happened with that? Has there been any communication back?
We reached out to the to Pan Am. I talked to their vice president of operations. Their storage of equipment on the tracks has been as related to poor business conditions. And when asked, we were told that they might be there over the winter, depending on it. But it was today or recently that there were two engines that activated the lights. It surprised somebody driving on Route 15 in Bucksport that they were actually crossing the tracks, and I wasn't sure if they were moving any of those cars, and that's why the engines were there or not. But and Public Safety Director Gagan was part of this discussion, and he encouraged them to, if they were going to leave them on tracks, to locate them on lots where there weren't houses adjacent to that, because part of the concern was from people who the trains were between them and the river. The cars were, and I'm not sure where that went after that. Chief, did you have any further anything from them after that time? I can't hear.
I did not hear back from them much, but I did talk to the railroad police about it, and looked into it a little bit too, but it didn't sound to me as if they had much push with the company either. They try to locate them around as much as they can, but I did tell them about displeasure of them being in people's backyards. So I was in hopes that they would move them, but I've seen this going on actually around the state. I was at Herm a little bit this week, and the same thing is going on there, but they did have a few trains there moving those around at this time. So.
Anybody else have anything? Did I answer your question, Danny?
Do we have any course of action to help those people at all? I mean,
well, they had to make sure that people who are they're called farm, or people who have animals that have to get from one, they have to leave those traditional openings open. But if it's if those aren't recorded easements, then no, they don't.
Anybody else have anything? Rich? I saw you standing up there before. I figured you had something to say.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to let the council know that the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting, which was scheduled for this upcoming Monday, has been postponed. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we've rescheduled it for December 14th. It's a Monday night, also at 6 o'clock. And I regretfully informed the council that we're losing a business on Main Street. Effective after the holidays, Protocol will be closing their doors for good.
Rich, do you have any update at all from Whole Oceans?
Whole Oceans. They are still working next door. Actually, somebody was in the office yesterday, and I know they've been over at the site recently, but I don't have an updated construction schedule or future plans. I know Luke's been in contact a little bit more recently than myself because of permitting. So that's something that we can get back to the council for the next meeting, or if we find
Yeah,
something.
do you think we can have just a better update maybe at our next meeting, just so we can, I'm getting questions a lot from folks, just they're kind of curious what's going on, so we could just get some update that they're still there at least, I guess.
Yeah, I will, actually what I'll do is I'll reach out to see if we can get a representative at our next council meeting, and if not, for them to provide us a report.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Item 14, I'm sorry, does anybody else have anything? All set. Item 14 is public hearings, committee assignments. Any committee assignments we have? Ed, you gonna have another baseball committee assignment, or?
At this point, I don't know if we need one immediately.
Okay.
Until we find out what we're gonna do with the grading of the road and all that.
Yep. Nope. Sounds good. Kathy. Yep.
We're going to have a cemetery meeting on December 1st. So.
Is that going to be a 1 o'clock one, or?
1 o'clock, yes. And
Okay.
it'll be virtual, so.
Okay. All right. Item 15 is adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Have a great night. A great Thanksgiving, everybody.
And everybody else.
You too.
Thanks, you all.